Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to break this down. So to start off, this video is going to be about the narrative that you should run to religious organizations for help. Also the narrative that you should run to shelters for help. And as I've always said for years, nobody's going to save you. There is no system put in place to help anybody with anything. If you're in any bad situation, you have to save yourself. An organization is not going to save you. And maybe an individual person, but I wouldn't even count on something like that. And then when it comes to like being in an abuse situation, if you're under 18 or even if you are 18 plus, people feel like if you're younger, you're just being bad and grown and you should stay with relatives and stop being bad and grown, quote unquote. If you're under 18, a lot of people like play this, oh well, I don't want to get in trouble for getting involved or helping you, or I don't want to go to jail with their abusers, so I'm just gonna like leave it alone and you be good and I hope things get better for you and stuff like that. And they'll like make this idea that like, they'll push this idea into your head that like they don't want to get involved because you're underage, quote unquote, which I really meant to talk more about in that whole minor Epstein video about the whole minor craze and how much it's all bullcrap and people are playing games. But people who push this whole idea that, oh, well, I don't want to get involved, or I'm too scared to help you, or I'm too scared to do what I claim my job is to do as a mandated reporter because you're underage and I don't want to get involved because I don't want to go to jail or I don't want to be accused of anything. They're going to disappear before you even get into your mid-teens. They wouldn't help you if you were 20. This goes back to the whole minor craze thing that people are doing these days. People don't care, they never did care, and they never will care. And the idea that, like, they can't help you because of legalities, for one, if they really, really wanted to, they could take you to court and help you get a court case and, like, fight for you in that way, but I will say, though, that's like a lot of extra stuff, and I mean, it could be risky. I would say it's better to just lay low, but either way, they wouldn't help you regardless of what. They wouldn't help you if you were 30 when they met you. There's always going to be a new excuse. Kind of like in that thumbnail of the number one message to abuse kids videos, where that one lady was like, it's not my place to say nothing. Just be good. And I'm pretty sure that's the same person that told me you're beautiful, keep smiling, which a lot of people get that when they're in bad situations that are like life-threatening, but it's like, okay, you're beautiful, keep smiling, but it's like, is that supposed to make me feel better? I mean, what is that supposed to do? Anyhow. So I remember way back when I was originally trying to like escape, but I needed money to get a bus ticket to go somewhere far away from where the missing persons reports are made. Because for one, of course I was in a quote-unquote black area where people are going to feel like, okay, you're being bad and grown, so I need to call the police on you and turn you in to stop you from being bad and grown and get you back where you're quote-unquote supposed to be at. Which is so funny because any other time, quote-unquote black people have this no-snitch culture and they won't call the police for anything. Like, they will literally know that their neighbor's like stabbing their newborn to death, but they won't call the police because no snitch culture. But they'll be quick to call the police on you to get you sent back to any bad situation. And for all they know, the people that are reporting you as a missing person could be human traffickers that have your vital records and stuff or have custody of you and aren't even really your parents, but people don't care anyway, so they're just doing what they want to do because the world works together to keep people down in situations that they have nothing to do with and aren't any of their business, as they love to say when you're in a bad situation. So I needed to get out of there. Also because a lot of the smear campaigning about me, I think 99.9% of it was about mental labels as well. So of course people are also going to feel like, oh, well, you're supposedly like retarded or you're crazy and retarded. So that also means that like, if we see you, we should turn you in because you're so retarded, you didn't even know that you left the house, and you left the house on accident because you're retarded, and you don't know that it's dangerous because you're retarded, and you walked out the door on accident because you're retarded, and we can't let retarded people roam the streets because retarded people are a danger to society. So if we can get the retarded person back in their house, we won't be at risk because of their retardation, and the society will be safe, and they're not gonna, I don't know, bite somebody's face off because they're retarded. So that's how people feel. And it's also funny, but I already talked about in the autism, BPD, PDs playlist, how like mental labels don't mean anything and they're not real unless you're in an abuse situation. If your mental label isn't being used against you by some abuser to like blame you for something or make you the bad guy or whatever, or to try to like trap you in a conservatorship, it's not real. Like there's literally people that love to make comments in spaces about homeless people and for homeless people about how like what's one example? Oh yeah, so like this one lady was like, I work in a disability money place, whatever those are called, and she was like, people come in all the time with different excuses for why they can't work and why they can't get their life together, and they say that they can't work because they're disabled and they have mental problems and stuff like that, because they love to make up excuses to make money, not make money, get money from the government. And they were like, if you're mentally ill, go to a doctor. If you, I don't even remember what else they said, but like the usual narrative that like if you go to a doctor, there's like, they like wave a wand around you and then you like get better or something. Is this mental illness is even really all that real? And it's like the people who really, really do break down, like who are like homeless, the stereotypical schizophrenic people who actually are just really, really broken down from being treated like crap over the years. It takes a process to even really get like that. It takes a lot of abuse and poor treatment. But it's like still the idea that if you're like to that level, or really just in general the idea that like there's some medicine to cure mental illness, or if you just like go sit in a chair and talk to somebody for some hours and that's gonna fix you, and then you're gonna like go get a job or whatever, and then like that's gonna fix your situation, which I feel is really weird since like a lot of homeless people do have jobs. Like any homeless person who isn't working at least seasonally isn't gonna be alive very long. There's a lot of stereotypes about like homeless people and stuff, but honestly, if you're ever in the community, you'll see that like, especially depending on where you're at, homeless people work the farms. They do the weed trimming jobs with those farms that like are owned by millionaires, where they may or may not even get paid what they really should be getting paid. Like they pay you by the pound and not by the hour, so you have to like chop a lot of weeds and stuff to even make a lot of money, or to make any money really. Like as I mentioned before, over a year ago in a video, there's so many like exploitative homeless job programs in Cali where they literally have people working full-time jobs and not getting paid, and they tell the person that like, you're doing something good for the community. And the unfortunate thing about it is that the main people who actually stay in these exploitative programs are people who have nothing else to do, but also people that are like developmentally delayed, and they just have stuff going on where they're like easy to like manipulate pretty much, and they're made to feel like them working for free is getting their dignity back. Like I remember in this one program, they were like, you guys are doing good with your beautification work and cleaning up the city every day, and you know, like, you know how people look at you and how people feel about you when they see you sitting on the ground or like sleeping outside or sleeping on the sidewalk or setting up tents, but when you clean up the city for them, people are smiling at you instead of frowning at you. Screw that. Screw all of that. Like, I remember there was this one job that somebody told me I could do for something to eat, and it was like chopping lumber at a lumber yard. And it's like, for one, I'm not big or strong enough for that, but also, like, even with the health issues I have, I wouldn't be able to do that because I have metabolic issues, and it's just a lot of stuff with that. But I wouldn't be able to do that even if I wasn't sick, I don't think, because like I'm still pretty small either way. And it's like you chop lumber for some hours to get some lunch, and it's like, I mean, that's the type of work that you would really need to like already have eaten something to even do. And then it's like with the metabolic issues, that would make my blood sugar drop, and that would cause a lot of issues if I was trying to do that on an empty stomach. And honestly, even if I ate before something like that, especially if it's like something that's like high carb, that would be very dangerous for me to even try to do whatsoever. Not to mention, they most likely wouldn't hire me anyways. Like a lot of jobs like that, trade type stuff, I'm very visibly unhealthy, and when people see me, they're like, yeah, never mind. Nah. It's also other stereotypical stuff with that, but especially just like being visibly not healthy. It's just a no, but I mean, having people chop lumber and do like serious labor for something to eat or for nothing at all is like really crazy. And it's like they would give out gift cards for like CVS and stuff, but like that's not a paycheck. People are doing like real jobs and getting really nothing out of it. Like, it was only when I went to Portland those couple months back and I saw that, like, the homeless programs actually paid people, but it was still iffy with that. Like, they had this one street cleanup crew, similar to the one in Cali, but different. But it's like, they actually paid you, but it went off of a raffle, so, like, you had to, like, take a ticket, and then if they pulled your ticket number, then you would get hired. And, like, people don't have time for stuff like that. People just want like an actual job. People don't really have time for like this raffle pulling stuff where like if your number gets pulled then you get hired and then we pay you for. No, that's like way too bullcrappy. But I will say at least they pay people though. Like even the youth programs pay people. Like there's this one program where you do a 3-week film intensive for homeless youth, and you get paid at the end of the intensive. And you get paid $600 and maybe $500, but it's like, that was still a lot to me. Not just because it kind of is a lot of money, but also because like I was so used to these programs where like you do jobs and they don't even pay you. And it's like, after being in the Cash for Kids system, and even before coming out here, like as I always say, I always watch documentaries and like research stuff. So like, I always seen like how street kids turn out and how they get stuck out here until they're like elderly, or like there's just so much exploitative stuff, and how the human cash cow systems work and the homeless industrial complex and all that, and how all of it is like connected in the same thing. But it's like seeing how people are just taken advantage of and they fall into these cycles of being used their whole life is like really upsetting. And it's also like I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what I was about to say, but these systems all started off made by the Pagan Roman Catholic Church / Freemasons, or their Knights Templar Freemason branch. And they started off for eugenics and genocide and ethnic cleansing. So like the boarding schools are made to like have Catholic nuns beating and essaying kids and keeping people from the Native Americans, the Asian, the Mongoloid, and the Negroid ones. But especially the Mongoloid ones have a lot of stories with this, of being ethnic cleansed and like being programmed to not speak their language, and the nuns will like beat them up and essay them for speaking their language and stuff like that. All these systems started off behind that, and church and state was never separated, so the religious organizations still own all these different organizations. So like I mentioned in another video, the Catholics, they own all the shelters and the hospitals with their Freemason with their Freemason off branch, and the Knights Templars, the Shriners, Lady of Lords, etc., etc. All that stuff is connected, and they own all these different places. That's why, as I've said before, like the shelters and the hospitals, they're called St. Francis, St. John's, the Shriners this, the Knights that, things like that. And they still do SRA rituals on the kids. Like, there's even a lady that has a video about this, actually, about like the Greek letter Freemason colleges and the Shriners hospitals and them doing rituals on the kids. And I mean, for one, it's very obvious that like some of these people's injuries in these like commercials, they're like inflicted on them. Like, I mean, who cut your leg off? Like things like that. Were you born like that, or did somebody cut your leg off for a ritual? You know, it's all really interesting, but I skipped something. Going back to the other point, back to when I was trying to get away from where the missing persons reports were originally made, and I needed money to get a bus ticket. So I remember somebody was like, your best bet and only option is to go to some religious organization and tell them either your real story or pull some, maybe watered down, I would say, I feel like it should be watered down, but pull some story out your butthole about why you need some money so you can get your bus ticket. Because, I mean, I was in a really dire situation, especially with, like, not even just like the situation with like relatives or anything, but like just the stuff that was going on in like the area that I was in, which I've still not yet made a video about that, I don't think, or at least if I did, it was on like the part 6 channel maybe, but like, or maybe the part 5 with like the Chomo dudes and the IHOP and all that stuff, which I mentioned this before in like the minor video, because the RICO indictment thing with LA made me think about the IHOP Chomo dude who used to pimp people out in LA before he moved to GA. But that's why, wait a minute, oh yeah, that's, I forgot I was talking about, that's why I needed to get out of there, that's another reason why. But also one of the biggest things about it is that I still didn't even know that there was actually places in the US, the little places that do exist on the West Coast, for street kids or homeless youth. Like, I didn't know that they existed at all in the US. But I did know that, like, if I was to go somewhere else, there would at least be more services, or like some services at all, where I would actually be able to shower and like get something to eat every day, instead of like being stuck outside of IHOP and all the stuff that went along with that. And so they told me to do that, but I wasn't about to do that, and I have plenty of reasons why. Then also, as I've said before, this was a quote-unquote black area, and kind of like where I'm at now, one, black churches, they're not about to really do all that like giving stuff out stuff. Like, the white churches have more money because they make more money, so they put more money into the church. And then the church is then able to like use that to keep up the 501c3 and stuff by doing charity with all the money that like they're rich. Commonly, a lot of them, at least in this one part of Cali, were Serpent Rev 29 Euro Jews, which is actually interesting because they typically don't believe in like the Bible. But when I was in Cali, a lot of them were like some of those, and they made a lot of money, and like their church definitely had a lot of money as well. But it's like a lot of religious people often talk about how like, well, no, let me not even start there. Or maybe I should. I think I should actually. They talk about how like people think they're going to like go in the church and like manipulate people and use them, and they'll be like, they want to use us, and they don't want to get their life together and go to a shelter and do what they're supposed to do, and they think they're going to come here and get something to eat, but psych. And people come to the church because they think it's a hospital, and they think they're going to be able to use people and like get help from people, but no, you got to help yourself and stuff like that. Like, I wouldn't do it for many reasons, but it's like, it's really not a good idea. It's not safe. Like, I remember, as I've talked about before, somebody in a comment section under one of the videos about the Nova girl from Software and Underbelly was like, she needs to find herself a church home that'll help her out. No church home is even going to want somebody in her situation even around or in their church. For one, homeless people, or really anybody with orphan status, is not allowed in religious organizations. They do not want orphans there unless they're like maybe essaying them. But other than that, anybody with orphan status is not allowed in the church. And I meant to make a video about this actually. So like, if you're homeless, that's orphan status. It's orphan status no matter how old you are. Even if you're not like a homeless youth, it's still orphan status, because it means that like, for whatever reason, most people will assume that you did something to somebody and you burn your bridges, but for whatever reason, nobody gives a crap about you, and so you don't have any help and nobody will help you for whatever reason, and you're out there, so that's orphan status. And the orphans and the different homeless people just aren't allowed in churches, pretty much. As I've said before, though, the black churches, they'll like maybe let you in to use the bathroom and like to get a bottle of water, but the white churches, they'll call the police if they even see you standing near the church looking like you think about going in there. Then it's like with the black churches, if you're younger, you're going to get called fast and grown, and like, especially with the Nova girl, they're going to have so much stupid stuff to say about her situation because of the people's stupidity and ignorance. That's going to be very victim blamey. And it's like, it's just not even safe to do. Like, for one, especially with the video that I'm still supposed to be making about the more recent Let Me Help You Lunatic situation, that's not even safe for everybody. Like, me going into like a church or something, and like, which I wouldn't do it anyways, but if I was to do that and like go in there looking for help, that's very dangerous for me, because people are going to feel some type of way about me. Typically, people don't even like see younger people going to churches unless they're in like a family system that's forcing them to go. Other than that, they're automatically going to feel some type of way about me. They're probably going to feel like, well, no, they're gonna feel like I'm going there to like maybe do something to somebody or I need something. They're gonna feel like maybe I want to like get something, either get somebody to like help me get some clothes or something, or like I have a weapon with me secretly and I'm gonna like hurt somebody. Which I've been in situations like that before where I've had people like check my pockets and stuff because they feel like I'm like trying to do something to somebody, because it's just not common. Which is why like I really wouldn't even advise going to these places to like even ask for water, or even like if it's hot outside, if you have to use the bathroom. I wouldn't advise it for any of those reasons really, because it's just like too much mess. Also, running into like predatory people, let me help you lunatics, and sexual predatory people, that's very risky, especially for like younger people, male or female, and from women, even men. I mean, I've seen like guys who are 35 get Diddler Birdman Jimmy IV'd by guys who are 67 plus because they wanted a father figure, and now they're being forced to like, quote unquote, as the dude said, go ballistic in his butthole. So yeah, it's not safe for anybody. But yes, and then it's like people just say things like this about the church because they want to continue a life of sin, and they have church hurt and they're mad at everybody and they don't want to get their life together, and they have the Jezebel spirit and they want to take over, and they want to go in the church and let people know that they're anointed and have people fall at their feet and kiss their feet and stuff. And it's like, it's not even really that serious. People really say stuff like that, but it's like, that's not even on a lot of people's mind. A lot of people really just are in situations they really do need help. Like, everything isn't like this deep, manipulative, have the world bow down to them like they're God. It's not even always really like that. Like, that's just way too much. That's how a lot of people feel, but like, really, And like, I already know that religion is the New World Order and that like it's a whole bunch of flipped around doctrines and stuff. But it's like, it's not even really just about that. It's about the fact that people are people, and you're bound to like, you're going to run into like some screwed up weird people that are dangerous everywhere pretty much. You're going to walk into somewhere, and then if you're like somebody that's seen as like more vulnerable or more like easy to manipulate, so much bullcrap can happen behind that. Like, a lot of people that are like single women who, I mean, I guess they would be considered maybe wanting to continue a life of sin, who are like into fornication and sleeping around. They like go into these churches and they get like lured in by like older dudes, and then like they get pregnant and left, and different stuff happens. Like, that kind of is about like a lot of no accountability type stuff. But like, if you're somebody who's like more, I don't know, into stuff and like more doing whatever in the world that you think will make your life better that really won't, than some other people, more bullcrap can happen anytime you walk into like any place with a large group of people that you expect different stuff out of, I guess. Like, I don't know how to put it, but in my mind, people are people, but in some people's mind, they do like want to hold quote unquote Christians especially to a higher standard because of like what they claim they believe. So people will feel even more upset when like things go a certain way. Like, I've had people tell me, oh, you should go to some church and like somebody will let you in their house because you're younger and you're a female, so they're gonna like trust you more. Actually, that makes things a lot worse. If you're younger, one, people are gonna be like, well, you need to just go home to wherever you're supposed to be at, and you're supposed to be with somebody that you're not with, especially in an area like this. And then two, people feel like if you're younger, you're more likely to have more issues because in their mind, you've been getting R-worded and stuff, and you may do something to them and a whole bunch of stuff. And I mean, really the way I feel is like, I get why they would feel like that, but it's also like an excuse to not do jack diddly for somebody. But me personally, I don't even really want people to like do stuff for me like that. I don't even really want people's bullcrap help, quote unquote help. And I personally wouldn't even want to like move into random people's houses, to be honest. Like, if I were the people that do want this, I wouldn't. I don't even know if that made sense. But I'm just going to say, if you feel like this, if I were you, I wouldn't even want to like live in people's houses, to be honest. But yes, like, people feel like when people feel like you're in a situation that's not good or not ideal, even if you don't see your situation as bad and they feel like it's bad, they're going to want to avoid you and avoid eye contact. They're not going to want you around because they feel like you need help and they feel like you're going to want something from them. So they're going to not want you around. And it's like, sometimes it's not even like about like the leader of the religious organization. It's about the people that like, that just are a part of the religious organization. So like, the leader may not even always know what the people are doing to certain people. They may not even know what's going on in their church or whatever. Like, I've even heard people talk about some video that went viral, like some lady who got in trouble because she was like letting the pastor and like some other elders know about different bad things that were going on in some church. And it's like, really, you can't walk in anywhere expecting people to do stuff for you. I think that's like the moral of the story. You shouldn't expect things out of people, no matter how young or old you are, really. Kind of like the Let Me Help You Lunatic lady was talking about how like she felt like the church wasn't doing what they were supposed to do because she knows that they know that the elderly lady was handicapped and disabled and was sleeping behind the church because they have cameras. And she said that she feels like they didn't quote unquote handle my situation how they should have because they know that I'm a quote unquote child. But it's like, really the age thing is another reason for them to like have an excuse to not do something. But it's like, what do I even expect people to do for me anyways? It's like, I don't really want people to like do stuff, to be honest. And it's like, people aren't even really that trustworthy. A lot of these people like are weird and they're like Jezebelic and like monitoring spirit type people, like Let Me Help You Lunatics. Then the guys are of course going to be weird to me because like, one, most of the guys around here have serious issues, and then two, like, due to my situation and people's stereotypes, especially in places like this where people are used to like the story of the girl that gets kicked out because she got essayed by like a dad or a stepdad, and now she's kicked out because quote unquote she was fast and grown. So people have these assumptions about who I am and what my situation is, and so like, they also feel like, oh, well, you're probably the type that gets people in trouble. Or, for better words, you're the type that gets older guys in trouble. And it's like, I don't run around getting with people. So, like, anybody that's trying to do anything that's not about to be consensual. So, they're trying to get themselves in trouble, I feel. But, like, I don't know how else to put it. But, like, guys, in, like, especially when it comes to religious organizations, they have, like, a certain, what is it? They have a certain view they want people to have of them, of course. So, like, if there's someone who knows that they can't trust themselves, or they feel like, oh, you may be one of those girls or one of those young girls that gets people in trouble or gets older guys in trouble, quote unquote, as people say, then they're going to, like, feel some type of way as well. And, like, they're not going to want to have anything to do with me because of my situation. But it's like, I wouldn't even want to do it, though, like I already said. It's like, people have, like, crap, I had so much bull crap happen behind me going to this one church to use the bathroom one day, and, like, so much stuff happened after that. In fact, that's where I met the Let Me Help You Lunatic lady. She saw me, that time, and maybe a few other times, which is why also I would say that, like, if you're stuck in one area, well, not stuck, but, like, when I first came to where I'm at now, I, came to this one area, and I was gonna, like, look for a sleeping spot in that one area. And I typically stay in one spot, or, well, not one spot, but one area for at least, like, 2 weeks, because I have to, like, get used to the area and get used to the place and, like, test the water, see how safe it is before I go anywhere else. So I was in the area pretty often, and the Let Me Help You Lunatic lady, she saw me that day, which I forgot about, because she's at the library pretty often. So, like, I thought that, like, we met at the library, but then I remembered, no, we met behind that time where I went to that church to use the bathroom. Which a lot of things went really, really left because, like, there's this whole situation where, like, I was painted as, like, this bad guy, and they, like, sent this lady to, like, talk to me now every time they see me since then, who's very obviously Let Me Help You Lunatic and, like, Jezebelic and a monitoring spirit, definitely. But apparently the reason that they send her to, like, talk to me whenever they see me or whenever they feel like I'm going to come around is, one, because they know that, like, I can sense stuff about her and that I don't want to talk to her, so they send her to try to keep me away. But also, apparently she used to be a social worker, so that's another reason that they do it, which she kind of admitted that to me herself. But I think this was the day I met her, maybe, if I'm remembering right. when I went to use their bathroom, but this one lady was about to beat a baby with like a 2x4. It was honestly way bigger than it was way bigger than a 2x4, because like I've done like carpentry work before that I didn't get paid for. So like that was way bigger than a 2x4, but she was about to beat a baby with a 2x4, and I confronted her. And so then this whole stuff happened with like some of the lower level, well not lower level, but like the what are they called, the usual Jezebelic secretary people and stuff that like the lady had went to go get because quote unquote she felt threatened. And of course I was painted as like the bad guy. I haven't talked about the situation since it happened, but it's like a lot of stuff happened behind that, and like they felt some type of way about me ever since then, of course. And of course they tried to tell me she's a mother and a grandmother, and it's like I don't care about any of that stuff. And of course they told me I'm disrespectful and I'm a child, but I always tell people I'm 25. In fact, most people around here, they're not used to younger homeless people, so they automatically assume that I'm just like a really small 32-year-old or 30-year-old. But I told them I was 25, and even though I told them I was 25, because I try to tell people the oldest age that they may possibly believe. Most people don't believe that, but it depends. But they were like, still, well, if you're 25, I'm 50 something, so still technically you're a child, and I'm grown, so how are you, the usual stupid stuff. And it's like, I just wouldn't advise it. And then it's like, another thing with being homeless is like, if you sometimes have a lot of bags, or even if you just have one book bag, people already feel some type of way about younger people in their teens and 20s. So people are already going to feel like the whole thing I mentioned before, went over before in that video, titled I'm Scared of Kids These Days, Mixed Kid Trauma, Candace Owens, etc. People already feel like, oh, you're probably like a thug or something, and you're going to come in here and you're going to pull out a GUN and you're going to just start SHOOTing people up, and you're going to start stabbing everybody, and you came here to unalive the pastor maybe, so let me just accuse you of having weapons and like wanting to do something to somebody. And it's like, I don't even know what to say about it. And it's so annoying because it's like people like this are the type of people that go on these rants about racism and like white people assuming we're going to do something to them. And like something else I meant to talk about in a video I meant to make about a recent situation where like some white lady, or some white dude thought that I was following him, which I could already tell this because I'm really hyper vigilant. So like I was walking down the sidewalk and he was across the street. He was across the street and looking back and pretending to be scared. It's like I'm following you from across the street, but I did end up having to cross over because that's the direction I was going in, unfortunately. And so then he went and got his wife to come confront me, which is so petty anyways. Like, you're a whole dude, but you went to go get your wife to come confront me about me following you. And then luckily by the time they called the police and the police got there, I had already walked away and I wasn't visible anymore. But stupid stuff like that. But like these are the types of quote unquote black people to complain about quote unquote white people that do stuff like that, but yet they do the same thing with their stereotypes about people and what their situation is and what they want to do. And then it's like, I feel like sometimes like the leaders of these churches and stuff don't even always know what their people are really doing to people, because like they're too busy with other stuff and like their daily life and taking care of their family. And it's like sometimes it's not even really about like the leaders, but like just the people who are in there that are really funny acting towards certain people. And it's like overall it's really, I just wouldn't even advise going there for like really anything. I wouldn't advise going there if it's hot outside and it's like 90 degrees and it's just, there's air conditioning in there. I wouldn't advise going there to use the bathroom. I wouldn't advise going there to ask for a water bottle. I wouldn't advise any of that stuff, because it's like so much stuff is bound to happen behind that, unless you're somebody who's like able to make it seem like you're not in a bad situation. But unfortunately, due to like the quote unquote culture and like where I'm at, people around here are more likely to automatically tell them most likely I'm at least maybe kicked out or something for quote unquote being bad. Because like once people see you too much in areas like this where they're not used to like seeing younger people like living their own life, they feel like something's going on. Because like especially with quote unquote black people, they feel like they're just taught to like be trapped in their family system and like never go out and have a life of their own. So like they're taught, don't leave your family system to go get a job. Don't leave your family system to go to college. Stay around your toxic relatives that don't even like you, because that's what you're supposed to do, because blood is thicker than water. And if somebody's younger and they're like on their own and like they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, like I remember even when I was like renting a room, I had people that were quote unquote black in this one place like act funny towards me because of my age, and they just felt like, I don't know, there's somebody that pretty much that I should be with family, to summarize. And yeah, so okay, I got distracted by looking at this bug, but now I can start reading. I think I went over everything. Maybe I didn't. I already had the video where I mentioned like the Catholic charities and their human trafficking, so I think no. This last thing about shelters not being safe. So, aside from the Catholic charities and the human trafficking, aside from that, just the fact that like shelters aren't safe, everybody should already know this. This is actually why in that one video where I went over the article about homeless youth, in the article, the person or the people were talking about how like there needs to be more youth shelters in America because it's not safe for younger people to be like around these people who are decades older than them that are like set in their issues and have serious issues going on and are like sexual predators. Not that like younger people with trauma, even people way younger than you, can assault you, but it's like people should know what I mean. And it doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl, you're gonna be at risk when you're around these like way older people who are like really set in their ways and have serious issues. But anywho, it's just not safe. Like people feel like that's where you should be at, the shelter, but like that's where you should be at if you're like wanting to get R-word. If you want to get R-word, to go to a shelter. Just go to a shelter and bend over, and if something will happen within probably the first 10 seconds, you'll get whatever you're looking for and whatever you're not looking for. But anywho, as I mentioned before, this one shelter, I went there for the day services before I knew like where else to go to like shower, even before I even knew that they give out food for like lunch. And so it's pretty risky, but luckily the shower is just like a one-person shower, so it's not like a shower room, which actually could be bad too as well because it means you're waiting longer. But I would try to go there before anybody else did. And so I remember this one time I was sitting in there waiting for my clothes to finish washing, because in these types of places in the South and the East Coast, more often than not, the staff wash your clothes. You don't wash your own clothes, which also means that pretty often your clothes go missing as well. And they lose them and they like forget stuff in the washer. They accidentally give your clothes to somebody else, unfortunately. But that's how it goes. So like I was waiting and the lady was about to like put my clothes in on the washer or the dryer or whatever. And they were letting the shelter people, they were letting the homeless people watch all types of corn imagery. And it was like artwork corn imagery too, like some taking people out essay type stuff. Some crazy mess. Which is horrible because the people, like I already said, most of the dudes in this town have issues. A lot of dudes everywhere have issues, and it's like, it makes things a lot worse because like I said in that other video, what happens is that they're watching the essay R-word corn imagery of people being taken out and all types of crazy stuff. And then they're watching that and they look at me and then they're like, so how old are you? And have you ever been with a grown man before? And stuff like that. And also the shelter was like watching these like weird, they're watching these like weird war movies, which is also very inappropriate because a lot of the people are retired veterans that have PTSD and schizo stuff going on behind that, and that's like very flashbacky. Like this one dude was just looking at it while dissociating. The same thing they were doing with the corn imagery, to be honest. And the thing is, in institutions, you're not supposed to be able to watch anything that's not PG or PG-13 at most. You're not supposed to be able to watch corn imagery at all. So the fact that they had this on in places that are pretty much full of R-worders and chomos and all types of stuff, it's just really not good. And of course it caused a lot of issues for a lot of people, and it makes the environment even more unsafe than it already is unsafe. Then the thing with like a lot of people who really aren't homeless that hang out in these environments looking for vulnerable people, also because of their mindset that they have, where like they can't really be around people who maybe have or want to have something good going for themselves. Not that there aren't homeless people that do want something better for themselves, and I don't even mean like the stereotypical matrix stuff of like a house and a car. I just mean like people who aren't stuck in like certain cycles. But anyhow, they hang out around homeless places or places where like homeless people go to look for people to take advantage of. So like at the shelters that are already like in a whole bunch of trap stuff. There was a dude I mentioned before who pulled up with a sports car, and he was like pretty much trying to manipulate me into like him making me a fake ID and me opening a bank account so he could like do some scamming type stuff. And he was talking about I'm gonna send you $200 and then you're gonna send it back to me and then we're gonna make this money. That dude, or the people that drive up and down the streets of homeless shelters and homeless resource centers, which there aren't many out here, but they do that looking for people to like pimp out and probably eventually sell their organs as well. So yeah, this screenshot is from a review about some shelter. I think I don't even remember what it was called. And the other screenshots are from something I mentioned before where I was like looking up TrueVine, because pretty much this dude was telling me, well, okay, wait a minute. This dude was like very manipulative, and he was talking junk about this other pastor because he has a job, and he was talking about how the dude was rich and how like, oh, you can't be a lawyer or whatever he is and be a pastor too at the same time. And he was like, how does that work out? And it's like talking junk about other pastors to try to get me to go to your son's church that he recently founded isn't going to make me want to go. I'm not going to go to any of them, but that's definitely not going to make me want to go. But he was telling me about how his son had took over the TrueVine church, and how TrueVine had like the situation happen where the pastor beat up his wife because the pastor's wife was upset that the pastor was sleeping with the secretary and other people in the church. And then he went on this rant about some other pastor and talking junk about the dude for being a lawyer and some other stupid stuff. And I don't have time for getting those types of conversations anyways. I came to this place after my children's father beat me to a pulp. I'm a Texan and was in Louisiana with him while he was working a storm roofer. I also wonder how old the husband was, or the father, or whatever. But anywho, he just dropped me and my 2 little girls at this place until I could find a way back to Texas. I had black eyes, busted nose and lip, etc. This place forced me to go to church and sing while my face was destroyed. So embarrassing. Not only that, but the workers were extremely rude, and the other women at the center were all rude and mean. I was 18 years old with 2 little girls. This memory has stayed with me after all these years. This place is the reason I will never ask any shelter or outreach center for help. I'd rather be starving and homeless. This makes me think about a Pastor Stephen Darby video where he mentioned the Jezebel spirit in the quote-unquote black community. And he was talking about how, like, black people have the spirit of offense bad, and, or true Yasharel anyways. We had the spirit of offense bad and, the Jezebel spirit. And, I can't remember what other ones, but he was talking about how, like, in fact, no, I'm messing this up. He even was like, if you don't believe me, try to go get some chicken. See how quick the lady at the chicken place rolls her eyes at you and curses you out. Oh yeah, and this right here. This is why I wouldn't advise donating to, like, resource centers. Maybe if you, like, trust a specific person that you know, like, helps people, but other than that, you should really give money to homeless people themselves. But I know a lot of people have their different reasons for why they won't do this, because quote unquote the person's mentally ill and they're going to go buy more mental illness and keep getting worse, or they're on drugs, which honestly, I don't like how the white community's drug issues have been made the face of homelessness, but I'm not even going to go into that again. But overall, places want to, like, convince you that you should give money to them instead of people who actually really need help, or that you should just help organizations instead of helping people who need help. And that's all bullcrap, and they of course push that narrative for a reason. Like, there's this one sign on the side of the road, and it says panhandling is dangerous, and don't donate to panhandlers, and don't enable panhandling, donate to 211. It would probably make more sense to donate to a local homeless shelter than to donate to 211. Anywho, I donated here and didn't have a good experiences. People working there were already picking through our stuff as they were unloading and taking what they like. I understand that once we donate that it's not our property anymore, but I thought I was donating to the homeless and people who were in need of clothes and shelter. My ex-husband and I were co-founders, co-pastors of a church, True Vine Ministries in Lafayette, LA. He was involved in Lord's Assistant chat. Customer. Hold up. Wait a minute. He was involved, no. Oh yeah. He was involved in sexual immorality such as adultery and pornography, telephone sex, trying to tongue kiss his own sister, etc. Like I said, the guys around are weird, but anyhow. When I found out he continued this behavior and refused to stop, I went to his parents to get them to speak to him. After speaking to them, and they were on his side, they were like, yeah, kiss your sister. That's how people are, though. Like I always say, any family with sibling SA where siblings are disciplining their siblings, or where siblings are like made to feel like they have to parent and whoop their other siblings to keep the parent from getting mad, it's always going to be really dysfunctional. The parents enable it, and typically it's either a single mom or a single dad. I've seen situations in both where like an older sibling commonly is made to like punish or discipline the younger siblings or the other siblings, or like when for example, they know the parent gets mad easily and may like torture all of them, so they'll be like oh, stop touching stuff in the store before you get us all in trouble, or they'll just be like whooping their baby siblings. Anytime that's happening, there's a lot of dysfunction where like you'll see a 5-year-old whooping a newborn and stuff like that, because that's what their parents teach them to do in their family system and community. But anyways, they enable it, and they actually teach their kids to do it, and they essay each other. So anywho, after speaking to them and they were on his side, I tried taking his axe to the church board of directors, because of course religious organizations, they're under the World Council of Churches, they're under the Pagan Roman Catholic Church. The pastors are Freemason Luciferians, or they've been to like these Freemason Greek letter colleges, and they're fraternity brothers in Omega Psi-Phi, whatever in the world it's called, Pi-Phi, I don't even know, I can't remember, but stuff like that, Eastern Star, etc. And they have to like go to higher ups to like try to get the pastor to be forced to step down or to be fired. Like for the Catholic Church, it's a well-known thing with like, especially Holy Cross, which is everywhere. If the pastor essays some people in one church and they do actually get forced to step down, they're sent to go be the pastor of another church or the priest of another church. Anywho, where was I? He and his family blocked me Family blocked me constantly. His mom, dad, sisters, friends, etc. began to lie to other members in the church saying I was addicted to drugs and crazy. The usual gaslighting manipulation. You're always crazy. You're always on drugs. In fact, like Pastor Stephen Darby said, whenever you speak out about what happened, like with Justin Bieber and other people, they say you're crazy and on drugs. You're crazy and on drugs. I think he mentioned this in the video titled Top of the Pyramid, I believe, which may still be on YouTube if they didn't remove it. But anywho, and don't listen to me, because I could be a harm to my husband as well as to everyone else. At this point, everybody begins to avoid me. That's horrible, though. For real. It's really, really horrible. And if you've ever been through Marine Spirit Jezebelic abuse, you already know how the game goes. And let's be realistic. If you're making out with your own sister, which I wonder if that was even consensual, or consensual enough, I guess. But if you're making out with your own sister, one, it's been happening for forever, since childhood. Two, you're going to essay your own kids and whoever else. Co-pastor of a church, True Vine Ministries in Lafayette, LA. No, I already read this. It appears that you may have a case for wrongful termination if your dismissal is in violation. You can sue your... And I can't see the rest of that. I think I forgot to screenshot the rest, or maybe I was supposed to download a screen recording app and screen record the rest and read it like that, but I kind of forgot about that. But this could be a part 1, I